Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Monir El Azzouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we are inviting a special guest for me because we work together actually on a project, and I really wanted to have this podcast with him also that is explaining to us his journey. And this podcast is mainly about the transition from a surgeon to a CEO. So because we have also some surgeons that are creating their company, and here we have a special surgeon that created that. So we have Professor Dr. Marc Possover. So welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hi, good morning, Monir.
Good
Thank you very
morning.
much for the kind invitation.
No problem. And as I've said, we are working together on your project. I'm mainly on the quality and regulatory affairs part with the Easy Medical Device team. But for people that don't know you, can you make a small introduction of yourself, and then we have a better understanding of who you are?
Yes, I am a physician, though I'm a doctor, I'm a surgeon. I'm a French guy. I start my medical study first in France. I start my medical study in the age of 15. And at the end of my medical study, I start first my career in cardiovascular surgery. So I'm a cardiovascular surgeon long time ago, but at that time we start a little bit with pacemaker. So I follow all my career the story of the pacemaker because I start in cardiovascular surgery. And at some point, I will be not very nice for all the cardiovascular surgeons, but it was a little bit boring for me, cardiovascular surgery, because it was try to connect a tube with another tube, and sometimes it was a little bit, I needed a little bit new challenge. And that's the reason why in the early 19th, I moved first to another country. I moved to France, to Germany. And secondly, I moved to cardiovascular surgery to gynecology. Gynecology, because gynecology is not like just a tube with another tube. Gynecology is a beautiful specialty in medicine because you have a lot of things. You have to deal with patients. You have fertility, sterility management. You have sonography. You have breast surgery. You have microsurgery, laparoscopy, oncological surgery. So that was really not boring for me. And from one step, I want to go to the next one. So I become a gynecologist, then a gynecology oncologist, a gynecologist endometrial specialist. And that is the problem because, like every surgeon dealing with huge, big surgery, the pelvis, nobody cares with the pelvic nerves, but everybody induce lesion of the pelvic nerves. So for 30 years, when you perform a big surgery, when your patient was not able to empty the bladder after the surgery, it was because you was a good surgeon. And at some point, I started to think about, yes, but for the patient that I'm a good surgeon, I can prove I'm a great surgeon, for her, it's not a good thing. It's because she has to use a catheter. And that was the start of the story of what we call the neuropelveology and the
Exactly.
story of neurogene as well, because the word neurogene is neurology, and gene for gynecology. So the story of neurogene started more or less for 30 years.
Exactly. And Neurogene is the company that you have created now. And neuropelveology is also the specialty that you have created. So it's something that is interesting because you are a surgeon, but you created a specialty. So it's like somebody maybe had been created the cardiology or even the gynecology. You created neuropelveology. Can you explain a bit more? What is this, if I can say, specialty? Or I mean,
Yeah.
apart from as you said, so it's pelvic nerve, but what is englobing inside this? So apparently it's not existing, so it's why you had to create that.
No, that is a problem. It was not existing, and two things were not existing in the field of pelvic surgery. The first was how to make the diagnosis of a condition of the pelvic nerve. So suppose you perform a surgery and you have a lesion of the nerve, you did a great surgery, you had a bleeding on the left, you put a stitch, and you will induce a pathology of the nerves. And that happens, of course, when you do big surgery, you will get complication, or sometimes it's not part of the complication, but part of the necessity of the procedure to save the life of the patient. And in such situation, because we are in medicine working in some bubble, if there is an issue with the nerve, you call the neurologist. And that is exactly what will happen. And when we call the neurologist, they were sitting with us in the same room and they said, No idea. I don't know because I have no idea about the pelvic nerve. Pelvic nerve are within the pelvic cavity, protected by the pelvic bone. I cannot do anything. I can even not bring my finger on the pelvic nerve because if you do that, you have to do that through the vagina as a neurologist. I cannot make a vaginal examination. And the second thing is exactly what I mentioned. When we perform surgery, we destroy a lot of nerve to be as radical as possible. And in oncology, it was always, okay, you cannot empty the bladder, but for that, you have your life. But
Yeah.
if you go on the field of the endometriosis, endometriosis is not a question of life or death. You cannot say, I kill you now, but you're still alive. No, endometriosis, we are dealing with 25, 30 years young woman who still want to be one day pregnant, want to be still beautiful and everything. And if you perform a nice surgery, you kill all the nerve. And the patient will have to avoid a bladder with a catheter for the rest of her life. It's not nice. It's not sexy. You will destroy the life of this woman. And at that time, we introduced laparoscopy in the field of gynecology. And the laparoscopy is you go with the optic inside and you can see everything with beautiful, much bigger. And that will start the idea maybe to say, why to destroy this nerve? Because this nerve has nothing to do with the cancer or the endometriosis. So try to use the endoscopic surgery, what we call laparoscopy, to see the nerve, to protect the nerve, and to preserve the nerve. And from protecting the nerve, I jumped to the idea, why to not do something with this nerve? So if there is a pathology of this nerve, a destruction of the nerve due to radiotherapy, surgery, endometriosis, tumor, whatever, why to not be able to do something that means to become a neurosurgeon? That means to do surgery on the nerve. But neurosurgeon, if you look a little bit in the field of the neurosurgery, you will find what we call neurofunctional
Yeah.
neurosurgery. And that is exactly what the neurosurgeon are doing when they are doing spinal cord stimulation, deep brain stimulation. So they bring electricity to the nerve because sometimes just to say hello on nerve and to remove something is not enough. It's like an electrical guy. When you have a cutting of a cable, electrical cable, you have to repair the electrical cable. And that is the neurofunctional surgery to bring electricity to the nerve. And that was the start of the neuropelveology and the start of neurogene, because they are still today not really a pacemaker, a neurostimulator and device, which is really the best for the pelvic nerves. And that is the reason what was said, okay, for us gynecologists, for our situation within the pelvic cavity, we need a device that we can use by laparoscopy and which we can bring to all pelvic nerves. And that was the main idea of Neurogene. And that's the reason why I start with Neurogene, because there were nothing on the market first.
Meet Alex. He needs to create an electronic instruction for use. With EasyEyeView, he uploads the document and in just a second gets a QR code. The code is printed on the packaging and shipped with the product. The user receives it, scan it, and the eye view appears fast and always up to date. Simple, fast, paperless. EasyEyeView, the smart way to manage your eye views.
Exactly. Unmet need, as we can see. So mainly this is something that I think, if I remember, because when we discussed also about Neurogene, you said to me that you contacted some manufacturers, but they were not really interested by mainly what you are proposing.
No, that is exactly the point because, we are dealing with a lot of companies as a doctor, and usually they want to have a good idea coming from the doctor. But my opinion or my feeling is that they want to get an idea they can bring on the market the next day.
Yeah.
And with Neurogene, the problem when I reached the company, I didn't reach the company with a solution, but with a problem.
Yeah.
And the key of all this thing was to really analyze properly the problem, to understand the problem, and then to build a solution. And the solution of my problem and the problem of all gynecologists is Neurogene, because we have no access to neuromodulation of gynecology. We are not doing neuromodulation. It's a big leak. That means in the field of the neuromodulation, we are fully missing women health.
Exactly. And because actually women, if they want to have this kind of treatment that you are proposing at Neurogene, they have to go to neurosurgeon and they have to get a really invasive surgery with a lot of steps, a lot of cost, a lot of things. And you are proposing an alternative that is really, better.
Also, when I'm really honest, no, because the neurosurgeon have no option for the woman as well.
Oh, okay.
That is the problem. Neurosurgeons are not doing any neurofunctional surgery within the pelvic cavity. There is only one procedure, is what we call the sacral neuromodulation. And it's a technique developed for more than 20 years, where you bring a lead electrode by transcutaneous punction technique to the nerve from outside, to one or two nerves. But the pelvic is plenty of nerve. You have thousands of nerves in the pelvis. And when you try to reach this nerve from outside just by using the small hole in the bone, you will be able to reach only few nerves. And neuropelveology, with a laparoscopy, you have the access to all nerves within the pelvic cavity. But some of them are very small, very deep, behind the bladder, behind the rectum. So we need a technique to provide neuromodulation, the nerve, which is adapted to women, to the pelvic cavity, the location of the nerve, and the way to bring the device there. By laparoscopy and gynecologists, we are trained in vaginal route and in laparoscopic surgery. Open surgery is much too invasive. So we had to develop a device that gynecologists can use with the kind of surgery they are trained since 20, 30 years, mean vaginal surgery or laparoscopic surgery. That's it. So that's the reason why, if you check a little bit, if you take a look on the literature, the data, the official data, is that only 0.35% of gynecologists are using neuromodulation technique, the current one with the sacral neuromodulation. And the problem is, we have plenty of gynecologists with plenty of patients who need neuromodulation.
Exactly. So I hope, that Neurogene then will be the one that will be providing this solution to them. Just one thing, I saw recently that you were appointed as the Légion d'honneur in France, so mainly, which is a high distinction. So can you tell us more about that? So how you feel about having that?
Yeah, when I'm really honest, I'm very, very, very happy. It's a great honor for me, even more because I'm working in Switzerland, but I'm a French guy. And for 2-3 years, the first great thing, I become member of the French National Academy of Surgery, which is really what of the most higher level, academic level. And yes, in July, I got the nomination of Knight of the Legion of Honor from the President Macron from the République Française. And yes, I got it for two reasons. Because first, I developed, like you said previously, a specialty by my own. The long specialty in medicine, clinical specialty, has been developed for 70 years. It was the nephrology. Okay. And since then, you have small part of specialty like emergency medicine, but which is part of the anesthesiology. But that a new medical field have been developed is the first time since 70 years. And I'm not sure, but probably the first time that a single guy who I am developed such a kind of a new discipline. And for this reason, I got the Legion d'honneur because I developed a new specialty in medicine with diagnosis and surgery. And secondly, it's quite untypical that a surgeon, a physician, made the jump to the medtech.
Exactly, yeah. This
And
was
for
the most
both, I got it.
yeah, this was the most yeah, I think difficult thing of your life because
Oh, yeah.
we'll talk about that now, yeah. So, yeah, this is a good transition. So, can you tell us more about when this decision arrived and say, okay, let's jump and let's make it mainly because it's, yeah, as you said, you are a surgeon, so you have already a full life with a lot of work, a lot of things, and how, yeah, why did you get crazy like that and just say, okay, let's do that?
Yeah, and so the first idea why to not use neuromodulation or electricity to the pelvic nerve happened for 25 years, more or less. I remember that at that time I performed one day a surgery, laparoscopic surgery for cervical cancer in a young woman. And at some point, I was using what we call bipolar stimulation, bipolar coagulation. So when you cut vessel, before cutting the vessel, you burn the vessel. And for that, you use bipolar stimulation, not comparing to the stimulation we're using. It's a much higher level of electricity. And I remember I touched probably the sciatic nerve or one of the pelvic nerve, and the legs start to move. So that happened sometime.
Yeah.
The special that day is that this patient was a paraplegic one.
Oh,
She had a spinal cord injury. And that was the first time I was afraid, scared to say, wow, what is going on? She's paraplegic. She's sitting in a wheelchair since long time. And now she is moving the leg. I asked the anesthesiologist, something happened. Are you sure the patient is sleepy? Yeah, she's sleepy. And first, secondly, she cannot move anything. She's paraplegic. So I understand, wow, I brought electricity to the nerve. So I induce the movement of the leg. And that was the start of the thing to bring electricity to the nerve. And yes, it was then a long way because it's not just the idea to bring electricity on the nerve to do the laparoscopy. You know, a surgery or a procedure in medicine, we have a success if a lot of colleagues are able to do it. So to bring electrode to the nerve of the bladder, for example, by laparoscopy, that is feasible. I can do that, but it's a surgery from 2-3 hours, too difficult, too dangerous. And that's the reason why from the use of the laparoscopy, I went to the GNS, which is the main procedure actually in neurogene, is to use a simple procedure in 5-10 minutes from below, from vaginal, to bring electrode to very, very important pelvic nerves. And that is a procedure that every gynecology can reproduce. It's easy because we were trained in vaginal surgery.
so in terms of this trigger, so then this was at that moment, did you start to think I can make a company out of that, or it was still like a long journey before you arrived to that?
No, because for 20 years, you know, we were not thinking as a doctor to build a company.
Okay.
It was even insane. When a doctor said for 20, 25 years, I would like to make a company, every colleague said, why you want to do that? You want to be millionaire to get money? No, we are doctor. We are not to care on money. We have to save life. But the problem is I was looking for electrode, for pacemaker, at that time, not for overactive bladder and pelvic issue, but for paraplegic. So I moved to the Congress of Gynecology, to Congress of Neurology, Neurosurgery. So for more or less 10 years of my life, I spent my time in the Congress on neurology and neurosurgery. And then I saw pacemaker, I saw stimulation device, and I was thinking, can I use this one for laparoscopy or for our indication? And sometime I found some device where I said, maybe I couldn't use it, but it's not the best, really. And then I came in touch with company involved in neuromodulation, and I asked them, I have an idea. I would like to bring electrode and pacemaker to this nerve to treat that and that and that. And the problem is all the doors stay closed. So no anybody, no any company was willing to say, okay, let's go that way. We will build something for you. Probably because it's exactly what I mentioned before. When I say I need a new device for laparoscopy, in 6 months I have this device, and then we can start to use it for surgery, and they can bring it directly on the market. Neuromodulation device, because we're bringing electricity, we're bringing a battery within the body, is class 3 device.
Yeah.
It's a long journey.
Exactly.
You cannot, from the idea, said, I will go on the market in 6 months. And that was really the big deal for me, because a surgeon normally, we don't have a lot of patients. We have a lot of patients when we are doing surgery, but for everything outside the OR, we have not a lot of patients.
Exactly. So now that you have started this company, so what is your how do you balance your roles as clinician or surgeon and also working as a CEO for Neurogene? Even if you are in the phase of design now, it's not like on the market for a moment, still phase on the design. So how do you balance that?
It's not easy because, I'm a special guy. I'm a surgeon. I'm doing surgery. I'm a neuropelveologist, but I want to share my knowledge to new colleagues. So I have another company which is called the International School of Neuropelveology.
Yeah, we
And
see
with
the
this,
sign here behind you. Yeah.
exactly. And with this school, I train colleagues from all over the world in neuropelveological surgery, and we have different level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 2, for example, is I train the colleague in GNS and Lion procedure. I train the colleague in neuromodulation. And my third job is the neurogene. And that is really not easy. So at some point, I had to say, okay, this part of the week, the weekend, the Friday is just for neurogene. This part of the week is just for the patient. It's really a lot of job. And what I learn more and more over time is to do what I'm not trained to do during my surgery. When I do a surgery, I have everything in mind. I'm a lonely man. So if I cut, I don't like to have people talking from left and right. I don't want to have music in the OR. I'm in my bubble and go on. To build Neurogene, a company, to stay in your bubble, after a short time, you will realize it don't work like that. You need a team around you. You need people you can trust, blindly trust. You have to go away from I'm the Geiger, I'm the violin number 1 to the orchestra.
Exactly. The
And that is
conductor
the
of the
point.
orchestra. Exactly.
Exactly. I'm not playing anymore really an instrument in Neurogene. I'm the orchestra.
So in terms of patients now, because you have this clinical knowledge, so I think, yeah, when we talk about surgery and you share that you know the nerve where it is, you know how to use it, etc., etc. Translating that from the clinical aspect to the medical device or product. So how did you find that? Was it easy, or because I think you had to explain that to designers, you have to explain that to people what exactly you are looking for, etc., etc. So was it easy for them to catch what you were talking about?
I don't think that it was easy at the beginning, even more because we are talking a completely different language. Believe me, we have in Neurogene, we have weekly meeting with R&D team, with you team. And for me, in the beginning, it was, I'm switching now from the Chinese to the Russian and now to the Arabic people. So I was not able to understand anything because all of you're top people living and moving in their own bubble. So I have first to learn your language. That was the first thing I had. And then I have to learn to trust you. But the neurogene, I think the main power of the neurogene is to have is a combination. Because if I see you, You're in charge on all the medical legal affair, also the financial affair and all these things, certification and all these things. But you have a broad experience with other company which were dealing on this field. IMEC is really a company specialist, high level and R&D. But I'm a small surgeon, and that brings probably the combination, the mix is the key of neurogene. You know, how many times in the field of surgery, companies are coming with a new instrument. They are very proud, very happy, and said, that is the instrument you was waiting on. We're looking this instrument, we try in Zohar, and then we're seeking bullshit. That are people sitting in a room in front of a computer who build a new instrument, and they didn't answer. They were not in touch with us, which are on the floor. We are using the device. And that is a problem, not the problem, the nice of the combination between neurogene, you and IMEC. How many times IMEC wanted to go in a direction because there is the right knowledge and they want to build. And I said, no, calm down. We don't you need all these features. I want to bring the pacemaker not just for the rich country. I want to approach country, let's say poor country. I want to approach all women in the world, from India, China, USA, South America, everywhere. So you have to stay on the floor. And sometime I was sitting in front of the colleague and I said, okay, it's nice. You have a great future, but we don't need. Point.
Exactly. And just for people that are listening, IMEXO is the company, is the design and development company that we are using mainly with Neurogene. They are really great guys, but yeah, as I said, each one knows his job. So at a certain point, we have some discussion about, oh, we should input that on the product. And then Professor says, why?
Yeah, but you know, it's like a computer. In a computer, by the through, every day when you're using your computer, you use probably only or less than 5% of the capacity of your computer.
Exactly.
Your computer is able to do great things, but you're even not aware from this thing. So if you build a device, you can jump from one idea to the next, and at the end you have really a high tech device, but with a high price. And what we want is not a high-tech device. We want a device which is safe, we can trust, and work everywhere for all patients everywhere over the world.
Exactly, yeah. So it reminds me an anecdote that you have made to me, because as you mentioned before that you are a solo surgeon, etc. So we were, because we talk about mainly the meetings with the different language, etc. So you were saying to me after some meetings that we had mainly with IMEC and the others, you were saying to me, it's why are we only talking and talking? It's like when I'm in a surgery room, I know what I have to do. I go, I do it, I close the patient, I finish, it's over. We don't talk about it anymore, if I can say. And here it's like every week we had to come back to discuss this, to review that, to discuss that. So how do you feel again about that?
So all this discussion made me tired, when I'm really honest. Because when I have a big surgery, it will take maybe 1 hour, maybe 4 hours, and I fully focus it. So I have really the line in my brain, and I don't anything. I don't see anything. I'm in the belly of my patient. And after 4 hours, it's finished. So it's like when you're sleeping or dreaming, you don't like that people are always coming in your room and waking you up. You. And that is exactly in the war. If there are people talking too much, I don't like. Because always I lost my concentration. And first, secondly, I'm a chef. I'm a professor in surgery. So it's another way of working. You know, when you're in the war, it's like a pilot, a captain in a machine. When by the landing, the captain said, stop landing, we change. He has the last word. He says that, and it is like that. There is no time, no place for discussion. And the OR is exactly the same. I have a complication. I said, we do that. You give me this instrument, and I don't want to get a discussion, because discussion in the OR would mean death of the patient.
Exactly.
And then when we have the meeting that people are talking, wow, it was really not easy for me. And yes, sometimes it makes me very tired. And
Exactly. Yeah.
sometimes I would like to say, guy, stop to go on the left, on the right, focus. We have one line, skip on this line. That's it.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, the difficulty, as I told you, Benny, that we have multiple specialties, people that are doing some electronics, some mechanics, some quality, regulatory affairs, etc. And we have to talk together to align and to go in one direction, because if everybody has his own goals, then we are not really matching the goals, matching the objective at the end. So it's why it's really important. So I know that you don't like those meetings, but from being the experts, I know it's needed.
I like this meeting and I'm learning a lot. As a for a physician, I'm becoming a little bit an entrepreneur. But believe me, at the end of the story of Neurogene, I will be not the CEO because I will never be the right person to be a CEO. CMO will be enough for me. You know, when you do surgery, you have another factor. And that's the reason why I said in the beginning, patient is not easy for me. And for all surgeons, because when you do a surgery, you're always fighting against the time. You cannot spend 10 hours to make a surgery. At some point, you will lose your patient. So we are fast, one step after the next. And for me, in the program on Neurogene, it's not easy. Well, you know, when I start, I was thinking, okay, in 1 year, I have the device. Then I understand, oh, probably it will be 2 years. Now we are 4 years. And I feel much too long, 4 years. And everybody from the team said, wow, we are very, very good because we were able in 4 years to build a device and to finish the device. And for me, wow, such a long time. And everybody is happy because it was such a short time.
Exactly. I mean, for the type of device that we are building, yeah, it's really with all those components, with all those things that we are trying to work on, with all those discussions about who to choose as a supplier, who to choose, I think. So when you see all this, because as I've said, it's not just we build a device, we have to build the design, to build the prototype, to work with for the animal study, to work for finding the suppliers, the final suppliers, to work with the laboratories to make the test work. You see, there are multiple axes here. So how do you feel about keeping the control of all this?
I just want to keep the control of the Neurogene, some control, because the aim of Neurogene is to help patients. And that is exactly what I want to keep the control of Neurogene. So I know that a CEO probably at some point could have another view on Neurogene to go more in the business line. Okay, that is an important part of Neurogene. I can understand that, but we have not to forget the spirit and the vision of Neurogene is the health of the patient, to improve the quality of life of millions, not just of a woman, but also men over the world. And that is the spirit. And I want to keep this spirit with Neurogene as long as possible. So that is my aim, not to be the big boss and to make the decision from everything. And that is exactly what I mentioned. I learned to trust people and to give some occupation, some responsibility on the left, on the right. The key to, and I probably the success of Neurogene will be not myself, but the team,
Exactly.
the whole team.
Exactly. So as I said, Neurogene, we are focusing now with this device on overactive bladder, mainly for it's a terrible condition for some women also that they cannot have a real life because they always want to go to the toilets, etc. So when you see this condition and you see the product that we are building here, I know that you have this experience with patients. So then I know that when you had the discussion with the designers, it was like, no, we don't need this or we don't, as you said before. So do you have an example that maybe just to explain, here is the situation for some patients, and maybe this is what we decided to do with the device because it's really what they need. And one thing that we discussed, we talk about patients, but one thing that you told me, it's that we should also focus on gynecologists, so many that the practitioner that will be proposing the device and implanting the device also. So you should not just think patient, you should really think the full healthcare system also.
So I will tell you two stories to explain how it is in the field of medicine. I remember for 20 years, we performed a surgery in an old woman. She had an advanced case of cervical cancer, and we performed what we call an exenteration. We remove everything, the bladder, the uterus, we empty the pelvic, we build a new bladder, and we use the appendix as a urethra, so we connect the appendix to the belly button, and using a catheter, the patient can simply void the bladder by introduce the catheter through the belly button. And we did this surgery, and we saw the patient 3-4 weeks later, and it was awful because this patient was more or less blind.
Okay.
She was not able to recognize the belly button. So she had a catheter, but she was not able to bring the catheter through the belly button. And that is exactly what I was thinking when we developed Neurogene and when we developed the device, the post-in. We have to think, for example, that most of our patients with overactive bladder are all women. So suppose they have some arthritis, the finger are like that. They have to be able to deal with the device. So you have a good control remote, which is beautiful, but you have very, very small button, and the color is so that the patient cannot recognize anything. You will be not able to help your patient. And I have another case to explain you. But I don't remember. Oh, yeah, for example, with the treatment of the overactive bladder, there are some competitors, they brought a nice device. You bring that just below the knee, you make stimulation on demand from a nerve just below the knee, and then you can treat the overactive bladder. And I remember a talk with some colleagues said, yes, that is a great system, great idea, And I said, I'm not sure that it's a good idea because first, when you need an external device to be bring on the knee to stimulate it and to control the active bladder, how it is when the patient is sitting in the train or in the bus, or suppose my colleague in the OR have an overactive bladder. She has to do surgery. She cannot use an external device to bring to the knee and to stimulate the nerve. And do you think really that a lady with a dress on the street want to go around with a device on the place under the knee and everybody see on the street, oh, she have a stimulator under the knee, so she's suffering from overactive bladder. So that a simple clinical situation, but that is very important. We have to take in account
it's mainly about not showing to others that we have some conditions. Is the objective is to hide that also. So having some external devices that are visible from others can make also this not really sexy, if I can say.
Exactly. The patient want to recover a normal life as possible. They want to have a private life. They want to have a social life. They want to recover a work life. So the life have not to be adapted to the treatment, but the treatment have to be adapted to the life of the patient.
So now for the gynecologists that will be proposing this device. So what are you proposing to them? Are you also listening to them and proposing to them something? Because as you said, first, they had no solution to what for the condition of their patient. So I suppose the patient had to go nowhere, or they have to give maybe some medicine or some other things, but they have no reliable solution, if I can say. And now, is there anything else that you are also promising them? Maybe there are some gynecologists that are listening to this.
Yeah, because we will go first on the market with the post-in, our device, to treat overactive bladder. And overactive bladder, that is really a nightmare in gynecology, because if a patient, she's coming in our office and she told us, okay, I have no private life, no social life, no work life. I have to go every 30 minutes on the toilet to pee. I cannot sleep because I have to stand up every 30 minutes to go on the toilet. It fully destroys my life. I have no sleep. I have no private life. I'm just standing in my room. So I have to do something. So as a gynecologist, the first indication or the first treatment, we have some guideline, and the guideline is to say, give medication as a pills, what we call anticholinergic. Anticholinergic will reduce the activity of the nerve, and then will reduce the activity of the bladder. But you have no medical treatment which will be able only to reduce the activity of the nerve of the bladder. It will reduce the activity of all nerve of the rest of the body, so the patient will get dry mouth. All patients will have really difficulty to think, so it will affect their own life, and that's the reason why more or less all patients after 1 year of medical treatment will stop because of what we call the side effect. Then, as a gynecologist, what are we doing? We have nothing else. We are not dealing with Botox, even more because most of us gynecologists, we have no cystoscopy. We cannot go within the bladder in the praxis and inject Botox in the bladder. And we are not trained in neuromodulation. So we can only send the patient to a neurourologist because neurosurgeons are not dealing with that. And the neurologist will try sacral neuromodulation. And there are clear data today that more and more neurourologists test the patient. So they bring a lead electrode surgically to the nerve, test if it works, and more neurourologists stop this procedure and are moving to Botox. Botox means the patient will need what we call a cystoscopy every 6 months. Every 6 months for the rest of her life, somebody will have to inject Botox within the bladder, high cost, and. And that is a problem. We have nothing as a gynecology. And as a surgeon, I was thinking how to provide a technique for neuromodulation that can be used by every gynecologist. And they're very interesting because the pelvic nerve, which are in charge of the bladder, are coming somewhere outside the pelvic cavity and will reach the bladder, by the way, will reach the sexual organ as well, outside the pelvic cavity, in front of the pubic bone. And we know that when we are bringing adhesive skin electrode to this nerve, we can test if it works. But then if we say, okay, it worked, let's bring a pacemaker there. The main issue was but where we have to bring the device, as the generator. We can bring a lead electrode to the genital organ near the penis or the clitoris, but we cannot implantate a device in the testicle, in the penis, or in the labia. And that's the reason why I developed the GNS procedure, which is exactly the same surgical technique as gynecologists are using to treat urinary incontinence. They are bringing behind the pubic bone a mesh to fix the urethra. And this surgical step is exactly the same for the GNS, which we patented for this indication.
Exactly, yeah. So in terms of challenges now, or fear, let's start with the fears. You started this adventure, as you mentioned, 4 years ago. So what is your biggest fear now on this project?
My biggest fear, when I'm really honest, is the financial aspect.
Okay.
Because I'm not afraid to have to prove that the genital nerve stimulation work or not, because we have plenty of data. Since 20 years, we are doing that with skin electrode, and there are plenty of publications show that the stimulation of the genital nerve provide even better results than what we call the sacral neuromodulation. So for that, I'm not afraid. For the device, I trust IMEC. And when I see how many tests and everything we did over the last 4 years, I'm quite confident that it will work. To bring the device on the market we need all the paper and documentation. For that, I trust you. And you gave me for 4 years the best advice. You told me, don't start with the documentation at the end of the project when you have the device. Start from the beginning, and you have fully right. So now we are moving the device and the documentation for FDA notified body at the same time. So for me, my most fear is to find the financial support to go on, but without losing the control of Neurogene.
Exactly.
And that is my main activity today, to find people, colleagues, whatever, to support financially Neurogene, but understanding the medical vision of Neurogene.
Yeah. You do all the things that I don't like. So to do the financial thing plus doing the political thing, trying to get the subvention and everything. But we need that. You need that for the project.
Yeah, but my main motivation to do that is on the colleague, because since 3-4 years, I'm doing the certification in the GNS procedure, and the International Society of not Society, School of Neuropelveology, the ESNP, I built for that, will belong to Neurogene. So Neurogene will have his own platform to teach the colleague. And that is my responsibility against the colleague, because the colleague, once they discover the GNS, they always all say, Marc, go on, go on, go on. We need your device. And the second thing why I will never stop is I have made the Hippocrates Oath. So it's my duty to help my patient. So I will never stop until we will provide for the patient a good, safe, nice device.
Great, great. Now, as I've said, you said that at the beginning, 20 years ago, a surgeon that is creating his own company was like an insane thing. And that you told me that now people are starting more and more to do this kind of job. So I suppose you will have maybe some young surgeons or doctors that are listening to that. So from your experience of 4 years now working with Neurogene, so what are the top 3 qualities or skills that mainly the surgeon should have to really succeed, if I can say, as a CEO for a company?
So the first thing is, in my opinion, patience.
Okay.
You have really to have a lot of patience, because the way how to build a company work is completely different from what we are doing as a physician. So we need a lot of patience. When I'm honest,
Patience.
I think
You mean patience? Patience. Because I thought I said patient
to
like
wait, not the patient, the patience.
Okay.
So secondly, I'm talking now for me. It was essential to have a great family to support me, because without my family, without my wife, how many times I ask myself why I am doing that, why I am doing that. And the third thing, you need to find a great team. You need people around you can trust. Because as a doctor, even with ChatGPT, internet, you will never find the right way and the right solution for everything. You need experts which are working with you, who have the same vision, the same interest, and you can trust.
Agree. Now let's talk about Neurogene in 5-10 years from now. So where do you see Neurogene? So because it's at the beginning it was an idea, it starts to become a product. So what will be happening in 5-10 years from now?
Neurogene will bring a pacemaker post-stim for stimulation of the overactive bladder, to treat overactive bladder. So I'm using neuromodulation also in paraplegic to help them to walk again. And we discover a lot of things over the last 20 years. Neurogene, the base of Neurogene is science. Is science I did over the last 20 years. So it's not the idea to bring a new device, but to bring a device we can use for our discovery. And what we discover is, it's not just you bring electricity on the nerve and you will have a contraction or somewhere. What we discover is once you bring electricity, for example, what we call the autonomic nerve system, you will have an autonomic answer. And the autonomic nerve system is in charge on everything. So that's the reason why Neurogene has, for example, IPs on indication where when I brought this indication for 5 or 10 years, everybody said, you're completely crazy. But I said, one day we'll treat osteoporosis, we'll treat dementia, Parkinson, we will treat depression, we will treat erection by bringing a pacemaker or stimulation to the nerve. And that is what we, over the last 10 years, from stimulation, we move to neuromodulation. Stimulation is I bring electricity. Neuromodulation, I use the electricity to increase or to decrease the activity of the nerve, to use the nerve. And now I brought for several years a paper that we will use the neuromodulation even for the Mars mission, because we discover that when we bring electricity on the nerve, we increase the bone density, so we treat the osteoporosis, what is the main issue in microgravity. So where I see Neurogene on the top line from the neuropelveology, because the neuropelveology started with sparing the nerve, then neurosurgery on the pelvic nerve, and the next story is Lion GNS, but what we can cover under the word bioelectronic. Because we know that when we bring neuromodulation of nerve, we have even an impact, for example, of the autoimmune system. There are some, not clinical, but evidence-based scientific work that with neuromodulation, probably in the future, we will treat, we will use in oncology, in psychiatry, in a lot of fields. I'm sure that in maybe 10 years, 20 years, we will treat most of the infection with neuromodulation. And we will have no choice because actually there is something much worse than COVID. We will have a big problem in the coming few years. We have no antibiotics.
Yeah,
we have no more. So we will have to find new way to treat infection. And we have already now some evidence that when you stimulate, for example, the vagus nerve, you will have an impact on the spleen, which will decrease what we call alpha tumor necrosis factor. So we have definitively a through impact on the infection by using neuromodulation. So in other words, I think neuropelveology or the Neurogene will in some way make a bridge between Chinese medicine and Occidental medicine. We will treat much more disease with neuromodulation. Actually, we are treating depression with pills. But depression you can treat by stimulation or neuromodulation of the vagus nerves. So we will go in the field of the bioelectronic. I'm sure that in maybe 10 years, 20 years, like in the movie for 30 years, the 3 million guy, he has a lot of device in the body. We will go in this direction. We will have device to be fit, to have less osteoporosis, less depression, less infection, maybe to avoid cancer, and I'm sure that will be the future of the humanity and the future of Neurogene, because Neurogene probably one of the first company going in this direction, because Neurogene and the knowledge of the current science, which I bring into Neurogene.
Great. And I'm really happy to be part of this journey with you because it's really also inspiring. And yeah, let's see in 10 years if it's really happening. And I'm really confident for that. Now, last question. If you are now to talk to a surgeon that is nervous to do this transition to entrepreneurship, what message would you give to him mainly?
I would say him, write me an email, try to call me and I will help you. And when I'm really honest, over the last few months, I was thinking or telling my wife, once Neurogene will run from alone, maybe that will be one of my next job, to help young physicians to go that way, to give them the line. For example, it's a simple thing, but as a doctor, when you have the idea, we're talking about the idea. And I will say to them, no, don't talk about that. Go first to a lawyers, and you have to get your patent first, your IP. And then you can reach the company and talk about that.
Yeah, because I remember, now that you said that, once you said to me that when you go to some conferences, you have a lot of also those companies, medical companies, etc. You drink wine, etc. And doctors are starting to speak about their ideas and giving that freely to everybody.
Yeah, it is like that. It was easy. I remember for 20 years, it was really like that. Company spend a dinner in the evening, and after a little bit alcohol, we're proud person as a surgeon. So we want to talk about our ideas. In the science or in the medtech, nobody is doing like that. But in some way, we're a little bit stupid. So we are giving prize to all our idea. But over the last few years, more and more sessions are coming in international congress on such kind of topic. Unfortunately, I remember for 2 or 3 years, I was one of the big congress in the United States. There were a session only focusing on that, how as a physician to become an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, at that time, we had only 10 or 15 colleagues in the room. So the interest was not there. But at some point, the colleague will have to understand, we want to make the medicine for tomorrow. Why to give this medicine to company? Why to not become the company and to bring our idea on the market to the patient?
Exactly, yeah. And as you said, also with all the examples you provided, already the patient needs, everything, you know how to translate that to a product, and if the product will be good. So it's all the benefits are coming from you anyway. So it's
yeah,
really
as a physician, the motivation for us is not the money, because we have not time for money.
Yeah.
We're working 16, 18. When you have a patient for that, you will work a lot. So even if Neurogene will bring one day, will become a big company, it will not change a lot in my life, because my life, I have no place for anything. And I'm sorry, but my passion is not to spend some time on the golf place. People are doing that, nice for them. But my passion is medicine, is to help patient. And if I have an idea, to bring the idea on the table.
It's
And
great.
to be part of the evolution, the adventure, to bring that idea from the table to the patient, when I'm really not, it's very difficult, it's very tough, but it's nice.
Yeah.
At
No,
the end, I will be very happy to have been able to bring Post-Team and Neurogene on the medtech field.
It's the only thing that I wish to you. So no worries.
Thank you so much.
So you are also having your own YouTube channel. So you have because as you said, you like also to share knowledge, etc. So I also ask maybe people if you want to go to the Possover YouTube channel and just see mainly what Professor Marc Possover is doing. But I think it's great also that you are sharing and explaining, not only because I remember not only to the surgeon but also to the patients. You are also doing sessions for the patients.
Oh, yeah. The most important is the education of the patient, because the patient, if the patient are aware from a new treatment, a new possibilities that can improve their life, they will look for the right doctor able to do that. So the patient will oblige through the doctor to do this procedure. No, at some point, I always said, in oncology, we say, not the primary tumor will kill the patient, but the metastasis. At some point, I will get maybe retired, probably never, but let's dream that one day I will become retired, but one day I will die. So from what I have done, what will be still there? Not myself, I will be few centimeters under the floor, but my colleague, all people, I teach the procedure. So that is my duty to provide, to teach the colleague in this treatment for the best for the patient. And that is the aim of my life.
It's
It's
great.
so easy like that.
A great objective, great goal, and really happy that you are such a nice person, because working with you is also something inspiring for me. So thank you also for that, and thank you for also sharing your journey from surgeon to CEO, and hoping also that maybe people that are listening will be also get inspired. Also, maybe for people that are in quality and regulatory affairs or in business or things, to understand also how many working with a guy like you or a surgeon like you that is creating his own company also, so which is really great. Okay, so Marc Possover, thank you very much. Really happy that you are coming to this podcast, and I wish you really a nice day.
Thank you very much, dear Monir. Have a good evening.